All right, everyone, we are here with another off-season war, and it was supposed to be the last one before the season, but I'm sure you guys heard the off-season's continuing. Anyways, this off-season war, I went in with Apocalypse, Cable, and Magneto. I am going to be taking Path 3 in Section 1 and Path 2 in Section 2, and then I'm going to be playing with some mini-bosses. This first fight here against this Punisher 2099, nothing special about this. It's got Hurt Locker on it and Power Focus too, and Mystic Ward, which really doesn't matter at all when using Magneto for this fight. So he has suicides. My game plan was to parry heavy, maybe even throw in a few hits, but basically build prowess to SP3 and then drop a big SP3. But since we're already almost at 50% in about 20 seconds, I decided to just go ahead and throw SP1, and then if I don't kill him before it, throw SP2. So this wouldn't be a problem at all for Magneto. We got some perfect block chance there, so it's going to reduce a lot of the block damage over time. So this would be a pretty good matchup for Magneto. Not that it would be a difficult matchup for many champs, but if you bring in Magneto, easy path for him to take. Alright, next is this Weapon X on Strike Counter Fury with the new, I believe it's Static Defense? Yep, and Masochism. So, was curious about this matchup. Unfortunately, he did have suicides. They got eaten there with Masochism, so we don't see it until recoil starts showing up, which is obviously something that's going to slow this fight down, the fact that he's not constantly taking poison damage. He is now unblockable, but did not go unstoppable, and I did not notice that in the heat of the fight, so I baited out a heavy. He went unstoppable during the heavy, no big deal. But you're really not playing Strike Counter here. Forgot he was unblockable for that one hit. You're not really playing Strike Counter here. You're just aggressively trying to get Weapon X down, trying to push him to 1 bar of power, get him to throw it for openings, and then attacking him after it. If he's shy of a bar of power, do the same trick I've talked about when I use Sentinel against the Weapon X boss, and that's to block dodge, just to bait out these free heavies for easy openings. If he builds up Fury, he builds up Fury. It's not a big deal. At least Magneto will prevent some of it with the 70% ability accuracy reduction, but we're not going to prevent his healing on his own with magnetism, since Weapon X's healing cannot be modified except from poison. So ideally, if you do try Magneto here in the future, I would suggest bringing the synergy that actually places a passive heal block every time you knock Weapon X down. This ends up being a very long fight for me. Actually, not super long, but not a fight that would be ideal in season. And the only reason I think I got it down any faster than I did was because he has suicides and the recoil damage. Obviously, in season I would have boosted. I actually planned on doing medium boosts and forgot. I also would have taken Resonate off so that only my bleeds were feeding Masochism and not just the constant weakness popping up. Even though the bleeds do feed Masochism, they count when they expire as detonating, so you do get that bleed shrapnel detonate damage thrown in there. So it could still possibly be done if Weapon X didn't have suicides, but definitely bring in that heal block instead, synergy instead. But you see here, we've been playing it well the whole time except for that one unblockable hit. We've kept him berserk the whole time, so he's willingly throwing specials, and therefore we never have to worry about taking blocked hits with this built-up Fury from the fight. And this should be pretty close to getting him down. Probably one more SP1. And down he goes. So that's what that interaction looks like. Alright, this next fight is a cleanup. I was actually interested in possibly taking this Fury full on with Apocalypse and some mutant boosts You see I medium boosted here, or light boosted. Because I've never done it, but I've seen others do it, and since I newly acquired a rank 3 Apocalypse, I wanted to try it out so that I could be an option if needed. But since he had already been mostly taken down, I just went ahead and cleaned it up with cable. You're going to see me block bait heavies, medium light, block bait heavies, retaliate with a heavy, so that I keep my combo alternating and I don't trigger evade. If I was only block baiting and then the douche threw this SP1 into my block. But if I was only block baiting heavies and throwing a heavy, he would evade every other one. So smooth. That SP1 into block doesn't help, but it's just a cleanup, no big deal. All right, so as I said, this was supposed to be a war, or a off-season war before a season war, so I was practicing. So I did decide to boost here for this section 2 path. This path is kind of made for Apocalypse, since he can build up a disorient immunity over time, the same way he builds up bleed or incinerate. So my game plan here was to intentionally trigger disorient, but still play strike combo, so strike counter, sorry, and now it's block penetration. Still play the combo rotation, and then once the disorient immunity went on, really stick to it. So I was kind of hesitant about going through the rotation. I wanted to make sure a parry landed, or a stun landed from parry before going into it, and you can see here we're fine. She only has 1 block penetration charge. She has suicide. She's going to go down quick. But yeah, we're just playing it nice and slow, medium light, light, medium light, a heavy, and then throwing an SP1. So down she went. Not a very hard fight. Now that we have this disorient immunity, it's going to help us for this next fight against the Airwalker. We can now dex freely here without worrying about our ability accuracy dropping, and therefore not being able to parry when we want to. So same thing, now that we can reliably parry, we're going to go through the strike counter rotation, parry heavy, parry medium light, parry medium light. Going to end with the parry medium light into SB1. Let's see, we're doing a great deal of damage. We've got the cable synergy, so we started out with 4 prowess right off the back. Making sure to block his special attacks so that we don't get any extra Dark Tides and end up with a Dark Tide passive, although I don't think this fight's going to go on long enough for that to happen. And we're just letting that willpower heal us from to counter the high ground, and down he went. So never tried that before. As I said, Apocalypse is new for me in war, so glad I finally got to test that out before the season. This Silver Surfer, you guys have seen me take him with Man-Thing, but I've seen a video of Cable overpowering him here, so I brought Cable. Let's go ahead and overpower him. Game plan here is just to aggressively parry heavy. Obviously, we're going to want to dodge specials because the degen's going to speed up the high ground, and therefore he's going to have a lot of charges, or a decent amount of charges, if he throws a special attack. So we're not going to want to block any of the special. And you can see here he's going down pretty quick. Obviously, suicides help. Mastery, where he has the reduced health from Glass Cannon, helps, but going down really quick. If I wanted to make that fight even safer and avoid the bleeds, I would have made Cable and a Horseman, but I did not due to the mini-bosses coming up. Alright, so again here, I'm going to be taking Green Goblin on the Rage node. Again, testing out to see if we can out-damage this fight before we die from high ground. So a couple things to consider before we see the end of this fight is that I'm not max boosted, just medium boosted, and I'm not fully healed, but I am going to use a combat regen. My game plan here was to parry heavy until we got to 1 bar of power, then block into a reparry and heavy, and repeat that until he gets to SB2, and then hopefully bait out SB2s without eating the SB2. Green Goblin can be tricky with that. The hitbox is kind of weird with the animation, and a lot of times he likes throwing it right as you're dashing back. So far so good here. He doesn't have suicide, so we're at least getting a pretty decent test here of what this would be like in season. Not that I would suggest this option, but so far so good. He's pretty close to 50%. There's the first SB2 out. Luckily we fully dexed it, so no worries. We haven't triggered any rage at medium boosts, so pretty good right now. I did not make Cable a horseman, even though I don't think it would benefit much for this fight. And here his high ground charges are getting pretty significant, so the block damage is starting to build up. He's gotten us to 50%, whereas he's in his last 25%. And here I probably could have just continued parrying. This next set of blocked hits I did not mean to take. I was trying to get out of range and or bait out that SB2, and he met me. I ended up having to block it, and then there you see I just ate SB2. So, I mean, if in a pinch and you really can't figure out who to take Green Goblin with, I guess Cable could work max boosted. Maybe even suicides. But yeah, that's how that went. So I go in with Magneto. I actually completely forgot I had him on the team. I should have just went ahead and gone with Magneto and seen how this went, although this first heavy triggering rage kind of concerns me. But I have seen Magneto against the Safeguard Green Goblin when he's placed there, and it's not very pretty. But anyways, it would have left me Cable to attempt that Sorcerer back there, which I don't. So anyways, easy cleanup, moving on. Mr. Negative here we're going to take with Apocalypse. Kind of figured this would be a good matchup just to the Conflictor. We don't have to worry about power gain because our debuffs aren't going to be shrugged. So there, I thought I was going to start with the parry heavy. He didn't come in. I decided that if I was going to parry, it was going to be to heavy. So that I could immediately get rid of his light charges and get the delirium placed so that the timer can run out, and that way I'm not dodging specials. But really, I'm avoiding giving him prowess, one, because I don't want the block penetration, and two, I don't want him to dex back with the prowess buff and therefore gain light charges. I wanted to keep him pretty low to, if any, 2 light charges. And here, we already made it to SB2. He's most of the way down. I am going to end up throwing a few more parries just to end the fight after he throws this SB2. Oh no, never mind. It was just block bait heavies. And then an intercept there. And down he goes. So that was the war. Good practice before the season starts, but of course it's not. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Go ahead and hit subscribe, and I will catch you guys at the next one.